Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. But we think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you who we think we are. And you see us as you want to see us. In the simplest terms, with the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain, and an athlete,
And a basket case. A princess.
and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
Don't you forget about me.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Feel, don't think.
Fear is my ally.
The Force will be with you.
We are encouraged to love.
Be mindful of your thoughts.
I will not betray the Republic.
Hey, Your Worship, I'm only trying to help.
Scruffy-looking nerve herder.
I'm not afraid.
You must unlearn what you have learned. Well, bye.
So this was a rare occurrence. Last night, while I was asleep, Cameron was on YouTube talking with Doug Burton about just how much money Lucasfilm had lost. Actually, the conversation went that way. Anyway, Doug assumed $7 billion. Of course, you guys know what I said. They didn't realize Sparrow was watching, and they called Cameron and left a message saying that they surmised that Lucasfilm lost more like $14 billion. And if you look at investment versus profit, capitalization, etc., the $14 billion is not out of the league. You got to remember just how much they spent buying Lucasfilm, and they got it for a song. They should have bought it for $10 billion, but Bob Iger convinced George that because he didn't have any movies on the slate, that it wasn't worth as much as it was worth. So George sold it for what, $4 billion, $4.3 billion, thereabouts. So there's your first investment. That was in liquid cash and shares. George Lucas is the single largest shareholder in the Walt Disney Company right now. Okay. And then, of course, we get into the parks. They want to do Star Wars Land. They want to do Galaxy's Edge. And, of course, that's an investment, too. That's at least $10 billion. And remember that that $10 billion, I don't think, on the offset, included the failed Star Wars hotel. Now remember, Kathy told Bob we should be concentrating on the movies that are coming, not the movies that we already put out, the Lucas era trilogies. There are more movies ahead of us, she said. And the Imagineers were told to scrap Tatooine and the rest of it for Black Spire Outpost and Batu Hachu and Rise of the Resistance, which I found out is going to be, quote, under refurbishment, quote. I don't know what that means. So you can assume it's just they're going to update it. We have been told that that's where Rey was going to be seen still, and Kyle Ron. But with everything, like Luke and Leia just showing up at Hollywood Studios. Like Friday, the day after Kennedy's exit interview was posted. By the way, that interview took place on December 18th. If they'd just posted it when it came out, Merry Christmas, Star Wars fans, but they didn't, so whatever. Fuck you, Deadline. Anyway, so what's going on here? How much money did Disney actually lose? Because Lucasfilm should have been a free way to print money. But they did everything wrong because they listened to her. Right? All right, so we've got the $2 billion box office blast called The Farce Awakens. Sure, financially it was a success. They made $700 million at it. And they decided to base Galaxy's Edge on the sequel trilogy. First big fucking mistake, right? The movies, and this is from Walt Disney himself, the movies exist to bring people to the parks. Okay? That's what Walt Disney wanted, right? He wanted good entertainment so he could capitalize on it by bringing people to the parks, bringing their families. And when you walk out of a movie and there are other people around your age, they were kids when the original trilogy came out, and 5 and 6 year olds are asking their dad, Daddy, why did he kill his dad? Because the 5 and 6 year olds probably saw the original trilogy and fell in love with Han, Luke, and Leia, and were probably horrified by that. When you walk out of the first trilogy in a Star Wars movie and you're literally horrified, that should worry you, and it should have worried Disney, but they were so giddy at the money they made that they gave Kennedy carte blanche to do whatever she wanted, and that's verifiable. That's in print, right? And we can talk further about this because I can't believe it.
Do it for me, milady, please. The thought of keeping you is unbearable.
I've been basking in it for the last 30 minutes. My God. I feel like a seafront village after the Vikings have left.
I think there was an assumption being made for quite a while that girls didn't care about Star Wars, or that girls weren't identifying with characters like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. They were only identifying with Princess Leia.
Argle, gargle, google, goo.
What?
Now you know how it feels. What are you talking about?
So let's think. How much money did it cost to make, The Force Awakens? What was it, like, 250 million, whatever, despite the fact that there were actual problems on the set, that J.W. Rinsler was not allowed to talk about them. Disney put an NDA on him. He was going to put it in a blog then, and they sent their lawyers after him. And then he quit because he was sick of it. And the problems weren't just Harrison Ford getting his foot broken by the Falcon. Remember when the landing ramp landed on his foot? Right, okay. So there you go, you've got that. All right, so we'll say $700 million, which really, when you look at what they brought home, really isn't that much money considering what they spent, right? Because I still factor that in, even at the end of the day. And then, of course, we get the wonderful idea of The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. How much did they spend on that? $225 million. And yes, there were pickups and reshoots. Let's just put it this way. The movie made $1.3 billion. It was projected to make $2.5. So it made $1 billion less than what Disney and the financial people on Wall Street thought it was going to make. Why? Because Kennedy let her ass show that she didn't know what she was doing. Okay, so let's estimate that it might have brought in, after everything, maybe 200 million. Yeah, remember, these movies were not popular at all in China. And I can't imagine why. So anyway, let's go to the next part. The rise of Palpatine. This is after the complete, utter humiliation that Solo was, that Kennedy admitted was bad. Admitted that she made a mistake. Admitted that she regretted. Of course, no mention of the other big regret, Dial of Destiny, which was a travesty. Anyway, The Rise of Palpatine was being filmed right up until 2 weeks before it dropped at the box office. Okay, that's not great. That's already a bad sign. I estimate they spent $300 or more million making it, having to remake it because Kennedy lost her shit over the lack of a Reylo kiss and the fact that she didn't know who the son was. Because, look, I'll go to my grave saying Matt Smith was playing the son of Mortis and he was supposed to be the ultimate bad guy. Okay, so anyway, we'll go on. It barely crossed into $1 billion territory before it was pulled out. And the reason why they left it out is so she could say she had another $1 billion movie. That's part of her contract. If it had made $900 million, she probably would have been gone in 2020, right? She should have been gone in 2018, but there we are. We haven't had a Star Wars movie since then because of this. Now, why? We have several that they talked about, none of which are going to happen. The Kyle Ron movie, the apology movie for Adam Driver, so he could actually feel like he might have actually done something good and people would like him for it, wasn't going to ever happen because the character sucks. Okay, it wasn't going to happen. So that's not going to happen. The James Mangold movie, it's probably the one that everyone's interested in because it's about literally the birth of the Jedi Order. But that's been put on the back burner. In fact, the only Star Wars movie that Disney was inclined to pay for is Mando and Grogu. Jon Favreau, not Kennedy because she wasn't part of it, had to literally go out with Sean Levy and get money from investors to make and then finish the Starfighter movie. When you actually parse what Kennedy said in the interview, which again was December 18th, thanks for waiting, guys, so he couldn't have a Christmas present. I now believe she has not been in the Lucasfilm offices since Dial of Destiny came out. I mean, she was literally punted to the curb. So you're looking at Steven Soderbergh going into the offices, Alan Bergman and Bob Iger showing him the actual financials of The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Palpatine, Solo, Dial of Destiny, and Rogue One. And he went, are you kidding me? And now, the story is he did not want to owe Disney money. Okay, let's speculate here, gang. Why did Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall sell their Palisades house? And why did they sell their socially important art collection? Did she, in fact, owe Disney money? These are the questions we need to ask. Because Disney is like, look, we've lost all this money. Now, how much money did they really lose? Well, again, as I've said before, if you take the 4 point whatever billion dollars they invested in buying Lucasfilm, the $10 billion they invested in the parks, that doesn't, I'm not going to include the Star Wars Hotel because that seems like it was an extra thing. That cost $1 billion. That's $11 billion, right? And then, of course, there's investing in movies that didn't make any money, that lost money. So I can see where the $14 billion is coming from. And when you look at why Lucasfilm failed so much, as Matt Bellany said in his scathing article about Kennedy, it's not her fault, but it really is her fault. Let's talk about the worst decision she's ever made. Leslie Headland, Potato Head, Fred Flintstone, walks into the offices, 2018, and pitches a Star Wars streaming TV show. Kennedy likes it, and she says, write up a script. So she does. Headland goes and does. She wrote a couple of scripts. Kennedy says, I like these, but show me a Star Wars, they're Star Wars, but show me a Star Wars movie or script that is written by Leslie Headland. And she goes and goes back and writes The Acolyte, The Trashlight. And they go to Iger saying, we want to greenlight this. Iger says, no. This was already where woke was being resisted in Hollywood because it doesn't make any money. They did not give them the green light. Where Kennedy got the money and, discretionary funds, moving money that was for something else to something else, from Dial of Destiny to this and that, we saw the fact that The Acolyte was being filmed in the Azores and all over England, and, we're all looking at it going, where's the money coming from? Because we were told by Sparrow, and they said this to Cameron, we see money's leaving, we don't know what it's for. We see them renting out costumes, we don't know what it's for. They come up with the sizzle reel and show it at Star Wars Celebration in 2023. Suddenly, Kennedy has the power to make this dumpster fire of woke shit. And it comes out, and everybody mocks it. It's got a 19% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Jon Favreau himself said that is the worst fan film I've ever seen in my life. It's garbage. Right, garbage. So why does Kennedy sell her house and sell that art collection? Because she used money that Disney gave them for something else for The Acolyte. And The Acolyte bombed, was a mockery, and Disney's like, you owe us money. All right? And she had to pay him back. That's what I surmise from this. And it goes along with the poor management of the IPs in general. Willow, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I think that cost about $400 million to make. And just the box office was dismal. So $14 billion is really not out of the ballpark, in my opinion. And it could even be worse than that. I mean, none of us have the access to the books. But, and I'm going to say this, I don't care. Black pills can scream at me. Let me explain something. She wasn't there since July of 2023. If you parse what she said in her words and look at the subtext in her interview, she admits it, right? This woman is absolutely, I think, on the line for $14 billion, in my opinion. She should go ask Elon Musk to let her borrow that. He could find it in his couch cushions. Anyway, I wanted to put this out there because it's amazing, and it makes me happy hearing this. So this is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.
Ready, everybody?
All set.
Here we go.